All right, welcome everybody back to Unquestionable with Calvin Smith. I'm your host, Calvin, and I'm really excited to have you guys back again today, and I have a whole lot to go over with this very special guest that I have today. I've been growing listeners, and it's really thanks to you guys listening to the show that I'm able to continue doing the show at all. And ever since I launched on YouTube too, I've been, really growing as far as views go and subscribers. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. And once again, before I get started, check out my social media. You can check me out: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, obviously YouTube. I'm pretty much on all social media platforms. So find the show there. I'll leave all the links for that in the description of the episode. But yeah, that's all I wanted to go over real quick as far as like a little intro. I want to get into the special guest that I have tonight. I have my old high school friend and classmate, and the winner of the t-shirt from the t-shirt contest on Instagram. I think it was earlier in August that I announced it, and then it was towards the end that I selected a winner, and Bridgette was the winner of the t-shirt. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for the shirt. I love it.
Absolutely. I'm glad that it fit too, because that was the thing, is that I only got them in mediums. So I was like, oh man, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know like if it's going to be too small or too big, or I don't know. I was worried about it. So I'm glad that whether it's too small or too big on you, I'm glad that you're making it work.
Yes. It's really good, which I was surprised about, because some mediums, they run a little small.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was scared of too. Plus, I think it says it's like pure cotton or something. So that's that was something I was a little worried about. And my shirt kind of shrunk up a little bit after I washed it the first time. So I was like, yeah, that's okay. But yeah, I figured if it didn't fit, I probably would have gotten another shirt anyways. But who am I kidding? But anyways, thanks for participating in it to begin with. You're one of only a couple people that participated. So yeah, for those listening, if you're following me on Instagram, you can win a chance at possibly being a guest on the show, winning some merch. Come on, guys. Why wouldn't you want to do it, right? So, Bridgette, I wanted to have you on today because you mentioned I was going to invite you on as a guest, more than likely anyways, after you won the shirt. But you kind of suggested it before I even got the chance to. And you suggested the topic, the Michigan Dogman. And that really, as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, because that's something that I have always been super interested in ever since I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. Somewhere around there is when I first heard about it. And yeah, so I'm super excited to dive into some of the theories and stuff like that with you.
I didn't even hear about it until like fairly recently. I didn't even know that it was a thing, but I knew about like other cryptids like Bigfoot, obviously, and like the chupacabra and other sorts of stuff.
Okay, so you like just recently learned about Dogman. It's within like
probably like within the past year or so.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Have you done like any of your own research on Dogman? Did you like just kind of come across it, in like a Facebook post or something, and then just kind of say, "Ooh, that's cool," or have you researched it?
So I've heard it mentioned in like other podcasts talking about different sorts of cryptids. So I listened to a podcast by the Haunted Michigan podcast, I believe is what it was, and they did a really good story on the Michigan Dogman, and I kind of just like researched some of the stories myself to see like what's out there and to get more information on it.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so I guess on a scale from 0 to 100%, like how sure are you, like 100% being there is no doubt in my mind Dogman is walking around, he's hooting and hollering out in the woods, and 0 being there is no fucking idea, there's no Dogman? Where would you be on the scale from 0 to 100%?
So in terms of it being like a dog man, I would say like 70%. I really don't think that it is like an actual like dog or wolf type person. I believe that there is an explanation for what these people are seeing.
Okay, interesting. So if I'm being honest with myself, where I'd put myself on the 0 to 100% scale, I mean, I'm obviously not at 70. Let's be honest here. I would say, I mean, I'm closer, I would say like 4%. I would go as far as to say like 4 or 5%, because it's like when I think about like my God belief, like whenever I use that scale for my God belief or whatever, I'm like at like 1 or 2%. So I'm like, I think there's a little bit more evidence for Dogman. So I'm kind of going off of that. So what makes you so sure that Dogman is real? What did you hear that was the most convincing to you?
Okay, so for me, I think just like the way that people are describing it, not as like a dog person, I think that it's most likely going to be something like a bear that is malnourished, because I was looking up pictures of black bears that were malnourished, and their faces look a lot like dog faces. Plus, if they stand up, their body is built similar to like a beast type human's body. So I'm really thinking that, yeah, there's an explanation for something they're seeing that's not normal, but it's not really like a dog man.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you think that it could be something like an actual animal, or do you think that it would be something more on the paranormal side, like ghostly, I guess?
I think it's like an actual animal, because with that research that I was doing on like black bears in Michigan, they say that they're typically not aggressive towards humans unless like something happens. And in a lot of the reports about the Dogman, they're not aggressive towards humans per se. Like they haven't like really attacked anyone. Yeah. So I'm really thinking it could be some sort of like animal in like distress, or, you know, that's something's happened to this animal.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I definitely think that you're on the right track as far as like asking questions about the different possibilities of what it could be. I guess before I get too far into it, I have a quick description of like what the typical Dogman description is. And the typical description is about, it's a creature that is described as about 7 to 8 feet tall, typically described having blue eyes or amber eyes. It's bipedal, so walked on 2 legs, and it had a canine-like animal torso and face, but it also was human in structure. It has like a lot of people would describe it as I guess any werewolf that you've probably seen on television, I guess, is really what I guess the description would be, except just imagine with some blue eyes. And it apparently lets out a fearsome howl sound that sounds like a human scream, I guess is what a lot of people say, is that when it howls, it doesn't sound like an animal. It sounds like kind of a human in like being mutilated or killed or something, like very violent and terrifying. So I think that because black bears are native to Michigan. Obviously we're in Southeast Michigan, so I've personally never seen any bears myself here in Michigan, but I know people who have. I'm gonna knock on wood, and I don't want to encounter any bears when I move in the next couple weeks. So yeah, I think it's very possible that could just be a malnourished bear. That does sound like a very good explanation. Or even maybe some sort of like coyote. I would feel like a coyote is a possibility. Maybe it was like a good sized coyote or something like that. But so what I wanted to kind of bring up too. So I have this one case that I have written down. I just want to kind of read through this kind of quick description of it. This is one of the first reported cases of the Dogman, and it goes all the way back to the 1800s. It goes back to 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan, which is like northern Michigan. And the story goes that 2 lumberjacks were working in the woods and described seeing a creature that appeared to have the body of a man, but the head of a dog or a wolf. And this wolf animal went under a log, and they followed it and agitated it in this log, and it apparently came out and was not a dog. It stood up on 2 legs and was a giant fucking wolf man. And they they were scared, and they said that they ran back to town, and they immediately told the people what they saw and what they encountered. And that was kind of like the original, the furthest back that I could find as far as a Dogman. But what's really interesting is that actually, I mean, as far as like I guess you could say a formal Dogman story, but actually The Dogman actually goes back, like way back. It goes way back to Ottawa, Ojibwa, and Potawatomi tribes from northern Michigan. There's actually stories of shape-shifting dogmen spirits that bring bad omens, and they're sometimes referred to as gods of death, quote unquote. So that's kind of cool that it actually goes back a really far time. So what do you think? Do you think that these lumberjacks could have seen some sort of dogman and decided amongst themselves to, I don't know, do you think that they saw anything, or do you think that they're lying about it? I guess I'm saying.
I think it could be a possibility, but also it's because the reports, like, I know with the song that was originally, like, Steve Cook made it up. That's literally the exact story that he told in the song.
Yes.
So I feel like it could be a possibility, but in that podcast that I was listening to, they said that they even tried to find like the original source of that first story, like where did it come from, and they couldn't. Like, it was just websites leading them back to other websites leading them back to other websites, so it's like really hard to find where that first story came from. So it could be that story may have just been something that after the song was made up, that someone was like, oh yeah, there was a story back in 1887 about the Dogman, and that was where it first showed up.
Right.
Like, the timing was a little suspicious.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with that. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the Dogman song. So for those who are listening, there's this song. It's called The Legend, or The Legend of Dogman. And I'll tell you what. Okay, first of all, you can look it up on YouTube. And before I even get into the song, this song scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Okay. I was like 8, 9 years old, and me and my family, like family reunion, would be sitting around the campfire. And back, when I was 8, 9 years old, before the internet was really a thing and you could just download whatever song you wanted, how this song would, so my uncle would pull out a cassette player, like a cassette tape player radio, and he claims that he recorded the Dogman song as it was airing. He recorded it on this recording tape. So he like recorded over a different song or an album or something. He recorded this song, I guess you could say, illegally. And so that's how I heard it, was actually from a cassette tape around the campfire at 2 o'clock in the morning as an 8-year-old. And my family would go and hide in the forest, and they would, jump out at the end and, scare the crap out of us. And so that's just a background story on me and that song. Is I honestly, I really don't believe it, but I just listened to it this morning, and it still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, I listened to it as I was getting ready for work, just to set the mood of getting ready to go work. Yeah, the song was, it definitely would be something that would scare like an 8 or 9-year-old when you're camping, and then listening to it at like 2 o'clock in the morning on a cassette. Yeah. Definitely a little creepy.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It was traumatizing. And like, that's the thing, is I wasn't even the only kid. It was like my uncle would be the asshole to bring this out in front of like the entire family of children, and then we all would just cry ourselves to sleep, and they would like scare the crap out of us. Like, they went and bought like a wolf mask and were jumping out of the woods at us and stuff. Like, they weren't messing around. And it was, although I looked forward to it because I liked the song. So like, I wanted to listen to it when I went up north, but it still scared me. So I tried to listen to it in the daytime.
You're like, I like the song, just not the little show that you guys put on with it.
Right, exactly. It's like, it definitely doesn't help. It's the song, even today, like I said, it gives me chills. It's just because it's got a weird vibe and it's slow. And I encourage you guys, go check out that song. It's on YouTube now, but it was only within the past couple of years, I think, put on YouTube. So check it out. It's really spooky. But yeah, on that song, as Bridgette was saying, WTCM radio host Steve Cook created and released this song back in 1987. And it really is what popularized Dogman. It's because of this song that people were interested in what this, is it like a Bigfoot type of creature? Is it just a fake story? So yeah, he explained some of the stories and actual real cases, but he did admit to exaggerating a lot of it. And not to mention, he actually claimed the song was released on as an April Fool's joke. And it wasn't long after the song was released that people started to call Steve Cook and tell the stories of their encounters with the Dogman. So literally, this guy makes this song, and then he starts getting calls about Dogman. So like, let's say I made a song about an elephant man in the forest, and I made a song about it. Do you think that I could make some bank off of that?
I mean, I'm sure you could, because then if it gets
what if it was like
a little
honey badger? Because like honey badger don't give a shit. So maybe if I that was an old joke, but
I used to have a poster that said that.
Yeah, but yeah, this guy, he admits that he made this song as a joke, and people are still going along with it. He still was getting phone calls, and the Dogman craze was officially starting to take off. And yeah, Cook then actually later remade the song. He actually remade it several times, and he released it a couple times throughout the years. And I think the most recent re-release was in 2007. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, so you can listen to the new version on YouTube now. I remember I listened to like the really old version. It sounded like real old, and it was real creepy, especially creepy compared to the new one. Yeah. So what are your thoughts? I guess on Steve Cook. I mean, he literally admitted to this song being a joke, and then he suddenly becomes famous kind of on accident. Now he's still to this day playing around with it. He still entertains the idea.
It's actually really smart, because it stayed like in people's minds for so long. And I know that one of the like highest, or it was like the most convincing evidence of the Dogman was a video that was like set in like the 70s is how it was filmed, but it wasn't found until like it was like 2007 or something like that. Or no, it was like, I think even later than that. I don't remember the exact time, but it was like earlier on, early 2000s, somewhere in the 2000s. He helped direct that video, and it was for the longest time known as like the most convincing evidence of the Dogman. And no one thought to question it until, technology got a little bit farther along and people were able to really fine tune things and look at this video and go, okay, that's just someone dressed up as a Dogman. But people believed it for so long.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And I was actually going to touch exactly on that too. So I'm glad you bring it up before me. Yeah, what Bridgette is talking about is what's called the Gable film. And that was, yes. And it's from 2007 is when it actually was initially released. And so it was, for a short time, it was renowned as being the best footage of the Dogman today. And it appeared to be a home movie shot on an 8mm video camera of some snowmobiles and the cameraman's dog. And it takes a turn when a hairy man is caught on the tape. And, that's pretty much the end of the video. This giant hairy man is caught on tape, crawling around on the ground. And it, that's kind of where the tape ends. It ends there. It's like a 3-minute film. I think you can find the whole thing on YouTube.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because there's actually 2 parts to it. Did you know that there's actually 2 parts to it?
I did not. I only knew about the one part where it ends with like the jaws like going over the camera.
Yes. Okay, so there actually is a part 2 to the video. And it actually shows some police officers interviewing some people. This is also on YouTube as well. And it actually shows the police standing over a disemboweled person, like someone whose entire bottom half of their body is missing and their organs are laying everywhere. It's super brutal. I looked more into it, and what's really interesting is that the actual filmmaker, his name, or he claims to be the guy Mike Agrousa, and he appeared on the history show Monster Quest, actually, and he actually described that he purposely used an old camera to make it look as old as it did, and even took the crew to see the truck and the snowmobiles that were used in the film. And this is when Mike Agrousa says he purchased a ghillie suit, which is like one of those suits that the military uses when they're sniping people. You know, they're like the grass suits that people wear and they just lay as a bush. He bought one of those suits to blend into his environment, and he got on all fours and he started running towards the camera. And he says, quote, "I was trying to be a werewolf," unquote. And he actually put on this ghillie suit and did it for Monster Quest. And so he literally admitted and showed how he faked this thing. So and it's still considered the best footage of Dogman. So what are your thoughts on Mike? I mean, do you think he's just throwing a ruse? He's trying, I mean, is he telling the truth about it, or do you think he's trying to cover up for the Dogman or something?
It's very smart to create this whole film, a whole 2-part film.
Yeah.
And you make sure you have an old camera that would be like from the 70s that people would think, okay, you know, this is really old film, so it's got to be true. You have a whole suit, you create this whole thing, and people believe it for so long. So it's smart that he came up with this whole, it made him, he got famous for it. You know, it gave him some credibility for that film. Like, hey, he could get other jobs doing other sorts of films. I don't know much about him other than the Dogman film, but hey, he could use that on like a resume or something to be like, you know,
that super famous Dogman film that's completely fake and really isn't super high quality.
Like, hey, you need someone to create an old looking film? I can create an old looking film that looks convincing for you.
Right? Like, you need an elephant man? I got your elephant man.
You need a honey badger man? I got your honey badger man.
You don't give a shit. But I wanted to go back to this quote that I actually forgot to read from what the hell was his name? Robert Cook, that guy who made the song. So one quick quote that he made actually when he was being interviewed by a local news station about this song and it being a hoax and all that. He says, "I made it up from my own imagination as an April Fool's prank for the radio and stumbled my way to a legend that goes back all the way to Native American times." And that's when he's referencing the Ottawa, the Ojibwa, and the Potawatomi tribes in northern Michigan, you know, like we talked about earlier. He once again stated that. So far, just to recap on everything, we have the best film of Dogman to date, and the most reliable film of Dogman is basically proven to be false and a hoax.
Yeah.
We have the Dogman song that is admittedly over-exaggerated and completely made up off of the top of his head and from his memories of Native American tribes and their stories. And these loggermen from the 1800s, you know, almost 200 years ago, that are claiming to have seen a Dogman. What do you think so far?
It's not convincing evidence. Like, you know, and people like to jump on bandwagons and be like, oh, I see that this is really gaining traction. This is really relevant. I saw that too. Oh yeah, you know,
true.
My cousin's uncle's grandma's brother's sister had an encounter with the Dogman sort of situation. Like,
exactly. Yes.
But it is interesting that he related it with some Native American tribes, because I do know a lot of their beliefs, they do have like wolf-like creatures, but even the French do. And like you did the one podcast on the Beast of Gévaudan.
Right.
That is like another dog man type of creature.
Yes.
The French even have it's loup-garou is a French creature, and it's French and Haitian, and it's a witch that can transform into a werewolf, but French and Native American, a lot of their creatures, or I shouldn't say a lot, most like really evil creatures that you hear about stems from people who resort to cannibalism and then they turn into this other sort of creature.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it is a really good scare tactic to use.
Yeah, don't eat people or you'll be a wolf man, you know.
Yeah. So,
damn.
I think it could be something like it was like a legend that someone heard about to like, you know, scare people. Yeah. And then they start seeing these unexplained creatures in the woods, which honestly, if it was back in like the 1800s, you know, they don't know as much about certain creatures as we would nowadays because they don't have the same technology.
Right. Yeah.
Very clearly.
True.
So they could be seeing this stuff and they're like, oh, that's not a bear. I've seen bears before, or that's not a regular wolf. I've seen wolves before.
It definitely could have been maybe even some sort of animal that has since went extinct. So we still don't know about it. But it's just some sort of different dog or bear species or something. Or maybe it was just a regular, maybe it was like a bear, but it was like discolored or had mange or something. All these possibilities. And so that's where I'm kind of coming from, is that a lot of these people, they're in the forest, they're scared because the forest is freaking scary as it is in the daytime, let alone in the nighttime. And even as a big scary lumberjack with some axe, I mean, I would still be spooked to be in the forest just with my buddy. And if I saw this creature that I wasn't 100% sure about, I can almost tell you for sure that I would exaggerate its appearance so that people would.
Oh yeah.
It's just what humans do.
Plus, if your adrenaline's going, you know, you're not gonna remember every single thing, and you're gonna think it's way worse than what it really was.
Yes, exactly. And my thing too is that not only, so we've really talked about the anecdotal evidence. So the evidence that people are talking about, the stories about them, the legends. The thing is about Dogman, the difference between like Dogman and Bigfoot is Bigfoot actually there's physical evidence for Bigfoot. We have footprints and we have castings of footprints. We have hair that is unidentified. We have, weird looking humans that are being discovered, like the Dragon Man that was recently discovered. We're still figuring out his genetics and everything. So
yeah.
I feel like it's just a story, if I'm being honest, because I feel like the evidence for Bigfoot, like there's physical evidence for Bigfoot and there's no physical evidence for the Dogman. We don't have footprints.
Yeah.
We don't have hair for Dogman.
Yeah, because I mean, when they say that there's footprints, they say that there's dog footprints. So I mean, that could wolves, dogs, very clearly explainable footprints that you're like, okay, that was a dog. Okay, that was a whatever animal. You can't just be like, I see that footprint. That's a Dogman footprint. It's got toes and it's got paw pads. Like there's no way to really say it.
Exactly, and that would lead me into, where are the bones? Where are the dead ones? Where are the babies? You're telling me not once has one ever walked out into traffic and gotten hit by a car? Not once one has fallen off of a cliff? Not once one has accidentally gotten shot or killed by another wolf man or dog man or whatever? There's all these possibilities, and the fact that they are non-malicious because they really haven't killed anyone. There was like in the song, it mentions one guy dying of fright or whatever. He like died of a heart attack or something in the song. But I mean, he said, once again, he claimed that he exaggerated the song. So I'm going to say that's an exaggeration because I couldn't find anything on that guy that died. I tried looking it up, couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's fake. So the fact is that wolves themselves and like coyotes are usually fairly aggressive, and especially if they have like mange or something. They're gonna be. So if these people are encountering Dogman, how are they still alive and don't have any injuries or anything to take back with them?
Yeah. Plus, So I don't know if you read the stories on, there's this website called Ranker, and they have like 12 Dogman stories.
Okay.
A good majority of them are like, oh, I saw it from far away in a field.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I was driving and it ran out in front of me on a road. Your reflexes are really that good, or this thing is really that fast if you're driving like 40 miles an hour, that you're gonna, like, people have demolished, or like, I shouldn't say people have demolished deers. Deers have demolished people's cars.
Oh yeah.
And you're telling me no one has hit this thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like you said,
and
no bones, no babies.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, minimum viable population, like that's the thing, is that there has to be minimum number of a certain species for it to be able to reproduce and continue to reproduce as a species. And that, I mean, the amount of dogmen that it would, I mean, there's obviously not that many dogmen that we'd be seeing, is what I'm saying. In order for them to be a livable number of them, there has to be like hundreds of them at the very least. So, I mean, like, just where would they be hiding? I mean, why haven't we been able to? I mean, I guess that kind of goes for a lot of species that we haven't discovered yet, but I feel like for the most part, we've discovered a pretty large chunk of the megafauna, such as like bears and wolves and stuff, besides a couple like subspecies and stuff.
Yeah. Like, it's just okay, so for some other cryptids that people have stories about, I really feel like their stories are a bit more convincing than the ones you hear about the Dogman. Because it's just, you hear the stories and you're like, are you sure you didn't just see like a dog or like a wolf? You're saying you describe this creature, but then you say that it just stood there and it stared at you, or it
let you take a picture,
ran away from you.
Did
like,
you get its good side?
Right. It posed for you. You went up to it, you told it to sit, you shook its hand, you were like, man, I need your autograph. So like, it's not a tame creature, then it's a wild animal. It's not gonna be like a domesticated dog. Like, unless it is. You know, maybe someone has trained their dog to, walk on two paws. I've seen it done with like the little Pomeranians and stuff.
There you go. That's kind of freaking creepy. Well, thanks, but I'll pass. It's kind of the same deal with like UFO sightings. Like, people see literal like stuff that is definitely a flare. Like you look at it and it's a plane flare, and people say UFO, and they got their potato phones out and they're trying to, oh, look at the flare, and they're zooming in and they're being all crazy, and they're like, oh, there it is, UFO, and it's just a plane flare. They're freaking out, they're just excited. And when you want to find something, you're going to find it. If you go out into the woods and you want to, and you are trying to find evidence of Bigfoot, everything you find is going to look like Bigfoot evidence to you. You're going to find rocks on the ground and go, oh, this is a mound built by a Bigfoot as a land marker as to where his home is. Oh, there's this big area of trees and branches that are encased into it looks like a roof structure. So it looks like a Bigfoot lives here, not a homeless guy, a Bigfoot. Bigfoot lives here. I put a jar of peanut butter out in the woods overnight, and when I came back, the jar of peanut butter was empty. That was someone's argument for me. I honestly couldn't believe that one. They put a jar of peanut butter out in the middle of the woods and came back the next day and it was empty. I was like, did you think about raccoons?
Because there's no other
literally anything
free
else.
Food.
Oh, they can't get that deep down in the jar. And I'm like, but they have opposable thumbs. They definitely can. They can get all food before they eat it. A Bigfoot would be less likely to get to the bottom of the jar, I feel like.
Raccoons have tiny little hands. Yeah. So
I'm not joking. This is seriously someone's argument for Bigfoot, and that's kind of where I had to depart from that guy. Because I've I'm open for evidence of Bigfoot, but leaving a jar of peanut butter in the woods overnight and animals eating it is what the fuck would make you say it was Bigfoot?
If raccoons can get into dumpsters, they could get into a jar of peanut butter.
Yes. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, if anyone is listening and has evidence of Bigfoot, I love you. And please come on the show. and present your evidence of Bigfoot, because I honestly do want to hear it, because I want to know if Bigfoot's real. If Bigfoot is out there, I want to freaking know, dude. If Dogman is real, if you have evidence for Dogman, come on my show and I will get Bridgette on here with me, and we both will go over your evidence of Dogman with you, and we'll talk it out. We'll butt heads, whatever we have to do, you know, to figure out what the truth is, because I want to know as many true things and as few false things as possible. So that was my rant.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if I'm wrong and Dogman does exist, I am willing to admit it. But so far, with what I've been presented with, I really just think it's some sort of animal that's like either like gone through something like malnourished, or hey, even with in recent times, you know, animals have been drinking water that has run off from fertilizer and other sorts of pesticides and stuff like that, that can cause them to get like sick and have all sorts of other stuff happen to them. So far, I'm like, it's clearly an animal going through something, and you guys have turned this into a superstition. You've made your own cryptid out of something that's not right. Pretty much, it's not healthy.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a pretty good place to probably end the episode for the day, to be honest. I mean, I feel like we covered a lot. I learned a couple things about Dogman that I, even after the years of me looking into Dogman, I didn't know a couple of the things that you taught me about. And, you know, hopefully I taught you a couple things. But before we officially, you know, I let you plug whatever you want to plug, on the scale from 0 to 100%, Bridgette, are you still at 70% sure that Dogman is real?
Okay, now I'm more so like what you said, you were at like 2 before or something like that. I'm really like, I don't think it's a Dogman. To me, I'm more so like, okay, it's an animal. You can say it's a Dogman, but it's clearly like an animal that is explainable. There's no, like you said, no bones. There's been no pictures of it. And with the technology that we have nowadays, I really feel like there'd be at least some sort of evidence of this Dogman creature, at least some bones. Like, where are the bones? If it's died, I really don't think it could live for hundreds of years. But where's the bones?
Agreed. Where are them bones? I need them bones. Get Allison Chains up in here. We need them bones. I feel so alone. I'm sorry, but I don't want to get copyright straight for that, but
like, my bad.
No, that's good. I brought it on myself. I wanted to sing that. So yeah, that's pretty much the show for today. Bridgette, is there anything you would like to plug before you would like to go? Your social media, if you've got a YouTube channel, anything like that you'd like to plug?
No.
Or just anything you like? I don't know. What's your favorite color?
I think red. It's a mixture between red, purple, blue, green.
So
pretty much every color. In some shades. Shades.
All right. I'm more of a blue guy myself. I like blue. Dabba dee dabba die. That's the last music reference I'm gonna make tonight. But with that, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you, Bridgette, so much for coming on. I do want to have you on again soon. And if I can find someone who has some evidence for Dogman or maybe even Bigfoot, maybe I can invite you on and we can have a discussion with this person.
Yes, please.
And we can talk out the evidence a little bit.
Yes, I would love that, especially if it's any sort of convincing evidence for Dogman and even Bigfoot. That would be really interesting because I've been really into cryptids lately.
Heck yeah! All right, I'm down. You know what? You're in. Okay, so when I'm covering cryptids, I'm gonna look to you. We're gonna try to work some things out as far as cryptids go. But with that, guys, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If you're not following me on Instagram, that's where I post most of my stuff. It's on. Bye. Hi. Hello. Bye.
My name is Maya.
Hi, Maya. I'm Calvin. Nice to meet you. All right, guys, that's going to be the show for today. Remember to follow me on social media everywhere. And thank you, Bridgette. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for having me.